So today I'm very excited to have Arthur Swertlandis. Is that right?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Right.
It's a difficult name. It's a mouthful.
It's definitely a mouthful. Arthur, thank you so much for coming in today. I want to speak about all things IT within the manufacturing space. Now, I know our journey over the last couple of years has it's been quite interesting. Do you actually remember when we first met?
I do. I remember.
Do you recall?
Clearly. Yeah, I remember the terrible suit you wore.
Was it that bad?
It was really bad.
Was it a 3-piece or 2-piece?
It was a 3-piece. It was terrible. I loved it.
Okay,
but it was terrible.
Aye, maybe too much for an IT sector. Maybe too much. So when we first met, what do you recall from that first visit apart from the suit?
I recalled. I just started the business and I was having recruitment issues, and I felt that here's someone that is local to me because we all work in and around Dumfries, and who is going to take a load off me and what I needed to do. As you know, it was a much smaller business back then, and I just didn't have the time or resource to do any of it, and I was trying to juggle too many things, and it was just nice to connect with someone who I could speak to face, and it wasn't just a recruitment guy in a call center somewhere who was pounding the phones. Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about that relationship piece.
and relationships in business, I think, are really important, and they're very important to me. So that's having a relationship with somebody that you could call on and felt like they cared more about you and your business than just someone who was at the end of the phone sort of randomly calling up candidates and you'd never met them face to face. I think face to face is really important in business.
Good. So I agree with that. I think relationship building is always part of the whole journey, through good, bad, and indifferent. So with the Making It podcast, Arthur, there's three things that we ask all guests that join the podcast, right? And the first one is, can you tell me an interesting fact about you and why you got into the IT sector? Now, I think you mentioned this goes all the way back to your 12-year-old version of yourself. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, my journey into IT has not been a straight line. I've done a couple of other things before this. But I've always had an affinity for it. I've always been drawn to it in a weird way, and so I've sort of finally found a seat that I'm comfortable in my work life. And when I even back at school, we used to have fundamentally I'm a geek, and I have less time for computer games than I used to, but at school I used to love playing computer games, and we used to organise LAN parties at school, and I took it upon myself to network the school together so that we could play computer games in our free time, which sort of went as far as using tennis balls with data cable attached to them and getting them over the building so that we could get cables from one side of the building to the other to get 2 different computer labs connected so we could play games on them.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've always, every job I've done, like I've got somehow involved in the IT of it. So whether that's by design or I've just been drawn to it.
Okay, and I'm encouraged to ask you, what was your favourite game while I was growing up?
You can't beat the original Counter-Strike.
See, I was Command and Conqueror.
Oh, Command and Conqueror's great.
I love strategy games.
So the Tesla Towers.
Oh, very good. Very good, yeah. They were certainly a winner when I was playing it, that's for sure. So I loved that. Also as well, what's quite interesting in terms of awards and accolades, I understand that you've won an award for the top 50 best managed IT companies within the UK.
Yeah, well, that's right. It was very exciting. We won that back in December, the end of December last year.
Yeah, which is amazing because you've only been going, 3 years now, is it?
3 and a bit years, yeah.
3 and a bit years, that is phenomenal. And how did that come around, the award?
With all these awards, you apply to sort of put your name in the hat, and then there was got sent over a 200 or 300 questionnaire, which we had to fill in, and then that was assessed, and they drew on that information, and we won, which was great. Well deserved, great for the team.
Yep.
Really good for for everyone who I work with, and huge effort from their part to do that.
Good. And is it quite an easy process or a difficult process, just for other businesses that are thinking about doing that themselves?
I mean, I think it's good. It's very time consuming, applying for awards. Some awards are, applied for by your customers, and depends on the different sectors. And other awards are just awards for awards' sake. I think it's, anyone can win an award if they apply in the right places, but you want to win awards that actually, in my opinion, mean something.
Yeah, based on merit and what you're doing that's making a difference, essentially. And that probably leads me quite well onto the next subject matter. We had spoke about like what impact does IT have within the sort of world of manufacturing. And one thing that we do agree on is like relationships, mutual relationships that we build through business. But not only just through business, it's also through supply chain. It's also through networking events, somebody that may be that you've never met before, may be able to add some value to something that you're already doing or some new ideas, etc. Why do you think that's so critical in the time that we live now within this time in Earth?
So I think we can go very deep on this, but because I've got probably a lot to say and unpicking that question. But I think the real key in business is we've moved into this age. Go back 20 years. And I wasn't in business 20 years. We go back 20 years, and everything was a lot slower. Everything moves incredibly quickly. Everyone's very impatient now. Everyone. There is a product out there for everything. Yeah. And there is so much noise around those products. So building relationships with people who understand the sector, understand how your business works in a sector, and can help guide and you can bounce ideas off is really important. So that's where the relationship part comes from. I think that's fundamental. I think within any sector, in manufacturing especially, it's all about driving in efficiency. Efficiency. So you need to make sure that all your systems, and not just IT systems, but your processes, everything around, everything that you do is efficient. And your biggest cost, any of our biggest costs is always labor. And what we can do to sort of produce more with the same number of people is really important. And you're only going to get that from putting your head above the parapet and looking at what's out there. Yeah. I don't think I've really actually answered your question, but I sort of answered it. It's sort of skated around it.
An answer in a roundabout way. Yeah. But what I've found myself, Arthur, over the last couple of weeks, speaking to many organisations, I keep hearing businesses talking about that sometimes we're moving so quickly, and there's so much out there in terms of what you can access, in terms of innovation, technology, and so forth, that sometimes we forget to carry out the fundamental basics. How do you keep the basics moving forward correctly and not get too carried away with all the new shiny stuff?
I think that's difficult for everyone. We all like
hands up to that.
We all like shiny stuff. There's an element of discipline. Yep. Which is easy to say and hard to do. Basically, if your fundamentals aren't there, everything you can buy lots of shiny stuff. I mean, everyone can, but if you don't make sure that all the back end and everything behind that shiny stuff is operating efficiency, it's a waste of money. Yeah, because you're never going to get the most out of it.
And say, for example, that you've done a lot of research in the market and you adopt a technology that's going to really help serve your customer base. How do you get your team adopting that as much as what you would?
Team buy-in.
Yeah, the team buy-in process.
Always. So I try not to go off and enact new products without getting buy-in first. And what I generally try to do is, if I find something that I think is of interest or I think will benefit my customers or benefit us as an organization for internal processes, I will actually get somebody else within my organization to do the demo, to see if they buy into it as well, and they see the same benefit from a product that I do.
Yeah.
And if I have another team member's buy-in, then it's much easier to then get everyone else's buy-in. Whereas if I go and just say, this is what we're going to do, I think you put people's backs out.
Yeah. So just to follow up on that question and also the answer, one thing that I find as a business leader is I love technology. I'm fascinated by technology.
Don't we all?
I'm not sure everybody does, but certainly I do.
I think, okay, men like gadgets.
Right, okay.
There are exceptions, of course, to the rule, but we all like a shiny new toy, I think.
Yeah.
Well, at least most people I know do, anyway.
See, I think for me, it's always like checking out systems, products, different services, what you can do to add more value, etc. But I sometimes feel I get lost in all of it as well. You just do so much research on the innovation side that it becomes complicated.
You go down the rabbit hole.
And you go down that rabbit hole. So what I'd like to ask you from that perspective, because I know there's quite a lot of business leaders out there going through the same pain currently right now. How did you work through that pain to eliminate that from happening? What would be your best suggestion? We
have a saying in my business, it's probably a saying in my sector, I don't know where I got it from, but if you can't make a headway or decision or get to where you want to do within an hour, stop. See, and get somebody else's opinion on it. Because otherwise, and I'm guilty for it. I have been up till 2:00 in the morning researching and reading posts and Reddit forums and everything on a particular product, watching YouTube videos and consuming hours and hours of time to then decide that it wasn't for me. But that's my process, and everyone's got their own process. But I've become, since I've enacted this sort of getting other people involved in the decision making process of products that we use. It's reduced the amount of time that is wasted on it, because they're a sounding board, and actually the products we look at now, we tend to make a much quicker decision on whether we're going to use them or not. The other thing is to look at what you've already got, and see what you're not using in it, because there are so many SaaS products out there, software as a service, and for whether that's for IT or that's for HR or that's for whatever it is, that which probably have features in that you don't even use or you don't even realize you use. And so, I can think of a case even in the last week where I was looking at something and actually it turns out that something I already pay for does pretty much the thing that I was looking to buy from somebody else. And I didn't even realize it. And, so I could have gone off and spent a whole load of, signed up to a contract for something which I didn't need because I was already paying for it somewhere else. And I see a lot of that. Within our clients in all sectors, is that they don't realize what is possible with what they already have.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, like doing a spot check, or would you classify that as an audit, what you have already, or?
Yeah, it's like an audit, or, just get someone to have a parachute view on what you're doing. I think, there's it's money well spent. Just, it's not an expensive thing. Just someone comes in and just sort of has a look under the covers and says, okay, well, what you're doing is great, but did you know that with what you've got, you can do this, this, and this, and this is possible? And again, I'm speaking very generically here because, the landscape changes so quickly in technology, everything around all the products that businesses use from a technology point of view, and even within manufacturing, all the machinery and cutters and processing machines that you use are moving and changing so quickly that you sometimes you sort of get lost within it, and it's just taking the time to take stock of what you've got already. Good.
I think that's great advice for anybody out there that's looking at new technology. So that leads us on to the next question, Arthur, which is IT within the world of manufacturing. Now, I know at Corona IT Solutions, you serve many different industries, many different sectors, but we have had good, candid conversations about the manufacturing space. Can you just tell me what would be the 3 biggest takeaways you would provide a potential or supporting a manufacturer that's looking to maybe look into IT service suppliers?
So, and this is true for any business,
Yep.
and any sector, but
Yep.
so there's a lot of crossover, and it's true for my sector as well. There are many different maturity levels of businesses. So, you can have a manufacturing business that is, a father-son team that are doing really bespoke gates or artisanal products,
Yep.
up to massive food processing companies, or who are servicing multiple customers and have very expensive bits of kit. So there are, within each one of those maturity levels, there are increasing complications of systems in order to make the supply chain, in order to make the processing, documentation, management of stock, management of everything. So you need to, if you're, depending on where you are on that scale, my advice would be very different. And that's that's the important thing to remember, is that, with what we do in our sector, like, there are too many businesses out there that try and do one cookie cutter to fit every mold.
Yeah.
Or that's a really bad use of that expression. But there's
too many moving parts rather from focusing on the core business.
Yeah, but you've got your core business, and then you need to work on, as you grow, on efficiencies and how you do that. And then that's where technology comes in. But over and above all of that, it's really important, like security. Like, I can't tell you, like, back up your systems, secure your network, make sure that you're following best practices, make sure that you're keeping your staff trained on what the latest threats are out there, because we can spend as much time and effort securing all of your systems, but it takes one person to click the wrong link on the wrong email, and they could fall for a phishing.
We've had that ourselves. We've had that in the business ourselves, where that's occurred, and it's caused quite a lot of problems. And also some customers. I remember one of our customers paid an invoice for 17 grand. And it was somebody phishing their bank account details.
I'll tell you a little story around this. This is quite recent in our sector. I heard this on a podcast the other day, which I was listening to, and there was recently, and the figures, it was a lot of money. A CFO of a business paid out millions of pounds, by accident, and because he had been invited to a Teams meeting. And he was on the Teams meeting, and on the Teams meeting were AI-generated versions of all of his colleagues.
Wow!
Within the meeting, and the bad actor was leading the meeting as a new employee, and basically asked this guy to send money to an account. And initially when he got the request, he sort of thought, okay, this may be not a good idea. But then, because all of his colleagues were there and interacting with him on the Teams meeting,
it felt more credible.
And he did it. And
wow.
So you can never, like, and it sounds like fear mongering. I'm not trying to fear monger here. I'm just saying that as we get exposed to and better technology becomes available to us as businesses and our clients, the bad actors out there also have access to that technology.
Yeah.
So there's a huge conversation in our industry around AI. Everyone should be using AI in some way, shape, or form. Everyone probably is using AI in some way, shape, or form. And but also within that, you've got to make sure that you're protecting your workforce and your business. So because it's moving and changing so quickly. If you think about a year ago, AI was this sort of new thing new kid on the block, and now we're using it day to day.
Yeah. So you've got the security aspect. So you've got AI.
Security aspect's really important. back up your data.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds obvious, but the number of people who don't back up their data and don't back up important data is scary.
What's the impact if they don't? Like, if organizations out there don't back up their data, what would the impact be for, say, a small, medium enterprise?
You don't realize how much stuff you have on your computer and on your network that you just need and you don't think that you need. But if you don't have it and you want it, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And back up. I can't say enough about that. I mean, you just need to make sure that you keep that company data safe, because that is your bread and butter. And unfortunately, we live in a world now where everything is stored on computers, and we're so reliant on them.
So that's good. So the 3 recommendations is backing up your data, adopt AI, and also look at the security side of your business. It was quite interesting before you gave that example of the CFO paid out millions of pounds. It just shows you it doesn't matter what size of business you are. If you don't understand where the assets coming from, you could be liable of money being lost through the business. And we have experienced that. We've seen customers experience that. And that story there about the CFO spending millions of pounds it sounds unbelievable, but it's happened. Yeah. So you've got to be careful.
Again, that's a third-hand story that I've heard. From a podcast that's specific to our industry, where they were talking about it, and they were just saying, look, no matter how much security we can put in place for businesses, we're never going to be able to get around that human interaction part. That human part is always going to be fallible, and that can lead to all kinds of issues.
So say if there's businesses and organisations out there looking to maybe explore new technologies or adopt new technologies or bring some technology into their business that can really help them move forward and be more profitable, where do they go for that?
You need to find people out there who are willing to take the time to understand your business. And that's regardless of whether that's IT or whatever it is. You need want to find someone who genuinely is interested in what you do.
Yeah.
Because unless they're interested in what you do, they're not going to be able to help provide a good solution. And you need to ensure that they have the resource behind them to deliver what they say they're going to deliver. And if they don't have the resource, that they explain how they're going to attain that resource and are open about it. Because you see a lot of businesses out, we've all been guilty of in life of saying yes to stuff and not knowing how we're going to fulfill it, because we're, that's being a business leader. You that's what it's about, right? You take on the risk and take on the challenge and go for it. But when you're entrusting your company data and your and the operation of your day-to-day operation of your business to someone who's going to be recommending or supporting you, you need to make sure that they've got the resource, or they have a plan behind them to ensure that the resource is there that you need for what you do.
Good. And as somebody that does lead the business or lead a department in the business, from our previous chat, you mentioned data backup, security, and AI. Now, wearing many hats can be a challenge for anyone in a company. Where would you best start with the 3 subjects? Would you start with AI? Would you start with data being backed up, or would you start with security? What would your recommendation be for starting?
I think AI will lead onto itself.
Yeah.
So, we all probably use SaaS products or some form of line of business applications that we use within our business. And as those get updated and improved, AI will leak into them.
Yep.
The backup and security, like making sure that your network is secure, your company work environment is secure, your office, your email platform, whether that's Google Workspaces, Office 365, whatever you're using, making sure that is secure, because they don't they're not secure out the box. This is a big mistake that people make. It's that just because you think your emails are in Office 365 means that it's secure. It's in Office 365. Microsoft has an entire sector within Office 365 on your business's security score, and they have elements within that need to be done in order to secure your environment.
Yep.
And just having that doesn't mean it's secure. Just having Google Workspaces doesn't mean it's secure, or whatever other platform you're using. So spending time and focusing on that. I can't recommend enough Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus for businesses.
Yep.
It's a really easy. Well, it's not easy. That's wrong. But it's a really good framework for businesses to be able to get a better understanding of their security posture, and how secure they are, and then by completing it, ensuring that they're following government-backed government guidelines on best practices within a business.
Okay,
and then you can take that a step further with Cyber Essentials Plus, where then that is then audited. So Cyber Essentials is a self-assessment effectively that then gets off. I think it's I can't remember how many questions it is, but there are platforms out there that can help you with that, or you can just fill the form in and do it yourselves. And that ties into getting a better understanding, even in a more holistic view of what your position is from a security perspective. And we live in this really mobile world where we're all out and about and moving around, and a lot of maybe less so enterprise businesses, but a lot of smaller businesses, SMEs, will have employees with work information on their mobile phones, and how do you deal with that data? How do you protect that data? So there's all of those pieces around that whole segment. So that's where I'd start, is sort of going to get a real sort of overview of like, where am I as a business from a technology point of view? Yes, I've got all these wonderful applications and products that are helping me do my job, but how secure am I? How am I from that position as a benchmark against what is recommended by IASB, which is the governing board that sort of issues the Cyber Essentials and certificates, and then making sure that as part of that my data is secure in the form of backing it up. Like if you have those steps in place, if you do Cyber Essentials and get your Cyber Essentials certificate, and you have all your data backed up, you that's a good baseline, right? That's everyone should be aspiring to do that, and then beyond that, it's like it's how far do you want to go? Like how far do you want to take? How important is your data? How important is it to you? Do you understand the risks? Are you educated in what those risks are? And can you sleep at night? And IT, what would I do for?
Not very well, to be honest, Arthur. Not very well.
What we do is for businesses is like a form of insurance. You don't buy insurance because you feel like you get great value out of it. You buy insurance because it makes you sleep better at night. The great advantage about IT is you use an IT service provider, someone to support your business, and they are there to help you sleep better at night, because you know that somebody else who knows what they're doing is looking after your technology, dealing with employees' printer issues because they can't print. That's a classic one that sort of takes up a lot of time, and it consumes a lot of time, and it shouldn't. You should be focusing on what makes you money. IT doesn't make you money. Well, it does, it helps me, but for most businesses, it's it's a sunk cost, right? So, but we all need it, and so you want it to be efficient, quick, snappy. Everyone can access all the systems they need to quickly. You reduce downtime. You have redundancy in place.
Yeah. I think it was something like from myself when I started the company back in 2017. I didn't adopt IT support services until about year 3. And from that point of view, I could see the benefits of having that support and security and backup from where we were before to where we are now, and where we're trying to go. And I think it is essential. You do need that support. I think the 3 areas that you've mentioned that I'm sure a lot of people will take away from this podcast is that look at your security. Just have a snapshot look at what the business is doing. Look how you can back up your data, and make sure you've got plans in place now you can adopt that AI technology. Because even with that, the traditional ticket for somebody not being able to fix a printer, I'm sure through time, through automation and machine learning, that'll be something that will not then become a human task. It'll be someone with an AI managing that process.
Absolutely, and that is like, I'm excited by that. Like,
Very excited.
I think there are a lot of potentially people in our industry that are sort of, our industry is going to change.
Yep.
And what we really need to do is embrace that change. And where companies like mine, well, I believe where companies like mine will end up heading, and very much how I position myself is that sort of trusted advisor role. So it's about being the guy you call up when you have a question about technology, because Arthur will know.
Yeah.
And, or have an idea. And
go to the GEEK.
Go to the GEEK.
Yeah.
Because, and it's creating value in that. That's where the value is for me. And that's the bit I enjoy. That's, I love that, someone coming to me and saying, this is what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
Then I can go away and I would say, leave it with me for a bit, and I'll go away and I can think about it and kind of say, cool, if you want to do that, you could use this, this, and this, and that will achieve what you want to do. And then we can get all those systems talking together and improve your productivity.
Great. So just before we wrap up the podcast today, Arthur, I'd like to ask you, from everything that you've shared today, and working to the wee hours of last night to 2:00 in the morning, doing your research and your homework, what sort of 2 podcasts or go-tos would you recommend when it comes to IT, and how you could recommend that to someone that's maybe looking to learn more about the sector, learn more about security and cybersecurity and so forth? What would be your go-tos for that?
So I watch and listen to a very broad range of podcasts. Some are like so industry specific that unless you were doing what I do, that I think that they
lost in space.
Well, not lost in space, but I don't know if you necessarily get the enjoyment out of it that I do. So I'm a big fan. There's a podcast called the All Things MSP podcast. Now, MSP is a terrible term, which is managed service provider. A lot of IT companies use MSP liberally, but it's more of an industry term. And that's sort of just 2 American guys talking about the sort of trials and tribulations of being in our sector. There's some really great networking podcasts out there. There's a guy called Network Chuck who, if you want to learn more about networking, he does it in a really light-hearted, easy way. He loves a coffee. So there's a lot of chat about his coffees on there. One of the first podcasts I started watching, or YouTube channels I started watching, was by a guy called Chris Shower called Crosstalk Solutions, and he's got a company in the States, and he gives a really nice sort of overview of different networking technologies, VoIP systems, general business stuff. And he's got a lot of really great content on there, which if I got a young guy starting with me, I will always point him to his podcast, because it's sort of really
good place to start.
Good place to start, and he's got a really good broad cross section of videos on there.
That's great. That's fabulous. Some good ideas and some good tips in there. So, in terms of the audience, Arthur, where can we find you? Where's your business based, and how do people reach you if they're looking for some more support in the things we've discussed today?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I provide some useful snippets of information on LinkedIn from time to time. corona-it.co.uk is our website, so you can always hit us up there and see some of the things we've done.
Fabulous.
Or just pick up the phone. Can't stress enough how much I enjoy talking to business owners and people who are having issues with technology and understanding what they're doing. Just a chat, see if it's
not just a chat with you, Arthur. It normally takes a bit longer than just a chat. Come on now.
You can always cut me off. It's fine. I don't get offended very easily.
And what I do love about your website, there's a really nice introduction to the business as well, which is on your front page. And I think if anybody is interested, have a wee look at that and certainly hit you up. So Arthur, I want to say thank you very much for coming along today. I really appreciate your time. And we'll look forward to getting you back on at some other point.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always available.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.